All right. Ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. What's going on, guys? Dr. Matt here, host of the Roadie Strength Podcast. Got another special guest on today, Dr. Michael Edwards over at Shore Golf Performance Physical Therapy out in Cranston. So, what's going on, man?
Hey, man. Hey, glad to finally get on here and just chat about how we can help our community. And
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Yeah, I was excited to make this happen. We had met previously because we both had a same coaching group with physical therapy,
Yep.
and we met in person in Colorado. Was it Colorado or
I think it was Atlanta.
was it Atlanta?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think it was
Okay.
Atlanta.
So funny, we're not that far apart in the state of Rhode Island, but we happen to meet in Atlanta.
Yeah. I know. Well, hey, I've been in Rhode Island for about 18 months now, and I've learned that Rhode Islanders don't like travel too far. So even for close, it's still far away.
Especially where I'm at, in Portsmouth, on the island. There's people. I don't know if this is more like folklore or just tall tales of people who were born in the hospital in Newport and never leave the island.
Yeah.
Never cross the bridges. So
there's probably some truth to that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally I do see now there's an East Bay and a West Bay.
Yeah.
And it's everybody.
There's not a ton of crossover.
Yeah.
I mean, I think probably
Until the bridge.
Until the bridge, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're dealing with the bridge situation this week too. This will be released in a few weeks, so hopefully this won't be an issue anymore. But who knows? It's the Washington Bridge. It looks like it's in terrible shape, so we'll see what happens. But so I like to start these off with rapid fire questions. And like I say every time, I think these questions are really interesting, but hopefully my listeners get something out of them too. So we'll start off with so we're in Warwick. We're in Cranston. So just to start that off, but what is your favorite go-to coffee shop in the area?
I'm a big Felicia's.
Yeah.
Felicia's Coffee. That's in East Greenwich. It's actually where I live currently with my in-laws.
Very cool.
So that's kind of when I'm not treating clients, that's where I do a lot of my marketing. Just
Nice.
kind of put the AirPods on and just type away.
I love that. That's a cool location. I've definitely, I was telling you off air before I was doing Outer Network or Cash Based PT, I was doing home care.
Yeah.
And I've definitely stopped at Felicia's quite a few times. I'm like, oh, this place is good.
Yeah, good
It's a
coffee,
spot.
better community. I mean, the community is great.
Yeah.
That's a huge reason why I love it, and I love the coffee. I also like Brewed Awakenings too.
Brewed Awake, that's a go-to spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. And they have really good coffee there.
Yeah, that gets me that gets me a little more amped.
Yeah.
But I love both.
I especially like their location. That's they have a big location near, I think it's near the mall.
Yeah, it's on Bald Hill. It's in Warwick.
Yeah, right pretty close to here.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a massive location, and that's a cool one too.
Yep.
Next question, which is similar. Favorite go-to breakfast spot?
Go-to breakfast spot. Keeping still in East Greenwich, like Tees.
Tees. Yep.
Tees. I think I just coming from North Carolina. That's a local classic, I guess, or a local fave.
Is it in North Carolina too?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, just since I've come from here and just hearing my family talk or my wife's family talk about it, and that's a good spot.
It is. Yeah, I hear you. What's funny is this will be episode somewhere in the 70s. Nobody has said Tees until the podcast I did literally right before this.
Oh, really?
So now I've got 2 T's in a row. Yeah.
Have you tried it?
I've been, but it's been a really long time.
Yeah.
I went to school at URI, so there was one day we a couple of us went out there and it was good, but it's been too long. I got to go back. Yeah.
No, it's good. It's good.
Next question, we got favorite recent book or a book that kind of stands out in your mind in general.
The first one that comes to mind is the E-Myth.
Cool.
It's a good one.
I actually haven't read that one yet, and I know that's a good business.
Just entrepreneur
book. Yeah.
mindset. Man, it's one of those things. As you start opening your own practice and just kind of become an entrepreneur and trying to just learn, one, how to build a successful practice, but you have to learn the marketing side, the business side, and all these things. There's the books add up of the books you want to read, and you got to prioritize. Okay, let me just focus on this book. But that's the first one that comes to mind.
Cool.
And I say another plug is Dream Big, Over Deliver, Be Undeniable. It's a book by a guy named Jason Glass. He's one of my mentors and good friends.
Nice.
He's a strength and conditioning coach out of Vancouver, Canada.
Cool.
Yep.
Is he a team coach or is he
So he's actually he kind of has his own little spot in Vancouver, but he actually works a lot with PGA Tour players.
Cool.
So
Okay.
PGA Tour players, and then he has history too with extreme sports. I think a little bit in NFL, MLB as well, but he's primarily shifted his focus to PGA Tour.
Very cool. What was his name again?
Jason Glass. Jason Glass.
Awesome. Very cool. Are you a hard like cover book reader? Are you Audible reader, or a little mix of both?
I think I've gone both.
Yeah.
I've always been hard copy.
Yeah.
Just something about just physically sitting there and reading it. But sometimes I think I get a little impatient, and it's hard for me to sit down
Yeah.
before I start thinking about other stuff I got to do. And
Yeah.
so I've tried to maximize my car rides with audios,
Yep, I'm
especially
a big
podcast.
Yeah, I'm big on that too. I've also found recently that doing just like mundane tasks around the house, cleaning, dishes, cooking, I'm able to, for whatever reason, that difficulty of tasks makes it really easy for me to listen.
Yeah.
I can really take the information in really well.
Yes.
Whatever it is, and it makes it go back quicker.
Yeah, and I've done the same in this.
Yeah.
But as soon as somebody like walks in or like I get
Oh, yeah.
distracted, I'm like, okay, you
You
gotta
can pause
leave.
it. Yeah,
I
get out of
or I
here.
gotta pause.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Rewind.
If I truly want to understand what's going on.
Exactly. And this brings us to our next question, which is favorite recent podcast, or maybe a podcast that you've been a fan of that you've liked.
I will say, I got a few. I mean, so Jason Glass is another one. He has his own podcast. I would say Danny Matei
Yep.
and PT Biz, Justin Rabinowitz with Rehab Cairo. Yeah, I mean, those are good ones.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that just challenge your beliefs a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Challenge you to think a little bit differently.
And yeah, let's talk about that for a second, because and I think it happens more often in from what I've heard in chiropractic schooling than it does in PT schooling. But basically, what we learn is just anatomy and treatment of injuries, and a little bit of theorex, but a lot of just pathology essentially and anatomy in school. And I don't know if your school's any different. I doubt it. We didn't learn any business, like marketing, sales, nothing like that.
No.
So, which is tough for PTs who want to start their own business or own clinic. Like you kind of have to, from a business mindset, start from scratch. So that's where these coaching groups or like education and stuff comes in hand.
Yeah, I mean it's in a sense, it's, I don't know, man. The older I get and the more just involved I get in just running a business, you start to realize that the educational model, in a sense, kind of is like the insurance model in a sense, right? It's. I mean, their job is to. Their job is to pass you for boards.
Yes,
and they do a good job of that.
Exactly.
But their job is not necessarily to teach you business skills.
Right.
Right. And I wish it was more business skills. But again, at that moment in time, again, it's not the goal in a sense to.
Sure.
Your goal is just to get this person where they can come out and they can practice physical therapy as safe as possible and be very good at it.
Right.
Right. But to take it to the next level is, if you have the entrepreneur mindset and you want to deliver healthcare in a whole new way, well, that piece is not really taught to you.
No.
So that's something I wish, hopefully in the future, these schools can start to tap into a little bit.
Yeah. And even just something as simple as like maybe a couple classes at it. Because like you said, like the purpose of school isn't really to teach you to become a business owner, but it's to train you to pass the boards, train you to be a good like clinician essentially.
Right.
But
then the caveat to that is, and I hope your listeners, they probably know this too, just listening to you already, is like you realize that you have no choice. If you want to be a good clinician, which is what the school teaches you to do coming out, well, in order to do that, the system doesn't set you up to do that.
Right.
Like the insurance model. And so you're forced to, in order to treat your patients and clients the way you want to treat them and get them good quality care, you have no choice but to open your own business.
Right.
In a sense.
There's definitely some truth to that because and I mean, we can skip ahead a little bit, which is cool, but basically the insurance model is built to be profitable and make money, or at least not lose money.
Well, they're a business too.
They're a business too. So there's certain rules, regulations that are better for business than they are for patient care.
Right.
So there's a lot of things that could be done for clients, for patients, from all aspects, from a customer service aspect, but also from like an actual like rehab. Can we get you better, faster, with better quality that insurance companies don't take advantage of or can't take advantage of because they need to worry more about their bottom line than they do about let's do everything we possibly can for the client or the patient.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's Yeah, we can go. I mean,
Yeah,
we can
we'll get into
we can
that.
say that.
We'll get into
say
that. All right. So next question after the podcast is and these could be similar or same even favorite Instagram accounts. And one caveat or one way I describe this is something that pops up on your feed that maybe is just purely entertaining, that's funny or educational, or something you just like to follow.
So I will say, well, I have a love-hate relationship with
Yeah.
social media.
Same.
But I think recently it's like there's an account called Time Investors, I think it is, or it's like Time Investors and another one like Business Mindset.
Okay.
And it's stuff like that where it just obviously you have your plethora of the fitness and the PT and the just like all the movement accounts.
Yeah.
But I gravitate more towards, I guess my algorithm at least is more towards like just mindset stuff.
Yeah.
The mental and physical, spiritual kind of just all encompassing mindset of, why you do what you do and the kind of deeper stuff, and just challenging beliefs.
Totally.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or it's like people don't really maybe tap into as much.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. So, Time Investor is that the best name of the account?
I think it's Time Investor.
Cool.
I'll double check, but I think it's Time Investor.
Sweet. Next question. Somewhere you've traveled recently. Could be business. Could be for fun.
My wife and I went to England and Ireland in October.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was fun. We did a little 10-day hiatus.
Nice.
But I'd say last year, prior to making the transition of moving up north to start this practice, we went to Greece and Italy. That was
awesome.
I want to go back.
Was that a honeymoon?
That was honeymoons. That was kind of like we did. I think we were there for a total of 23 days.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we did. It was kind of the transition between. So I'm from North Carolina, and that's where I met my wife. And so we were moving here. We got married last May, and basically we both quit our jobs in April and got married, and then we knew we wouldn't have this, I'd say a month gap for a long time at least.
Yeah.
And so we said, hey, let's just go live and make the best of it.
Yeah.
It was fun. It's just simple life over there.
That's awesome. My honeymoon was also in Italy and Greece. So
we could talk. Where'd you go in Greece?
We only went to one place in Greece, was Santorini. That's where you went?
Yes.
Where'd you go in Italy?
We went to Rome, and then I got a rental car, which was crazy, and drove down the Amalfi Coast.
We also did Rome and Amalfi Coast.
Oh my gosh!
Our wives must have been like on the same travel website
cool.
or something.
Right. Yeah, that view. If anybody has the ability to go to Santorini, I mean, like once you get over there, you're good. But I will say the biggest expense, obviously, is the plane ticket. But like once you get over there, like just that view in Santorini, like.
It's unreal. There's nothing like it.
The agency is what it is. Like overlooking the agency out.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Aegean,
maybe. I'm not sure how to say it either. But
it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's really cool. Did you get caught up in the So I know like is it at sunset? Yeah, it's at sunset. Is it a sunset? I think so. Everybody goes down to the very tip, and there's just massive crowds everywhere.
Yeah.
We did that one day just to kind of experience it. It's insane.
Everybody lines up.
Yeah, to take pictures of the sunset.
Yeah,
insane.
Yeah.
I mean, because it is beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Next question, we got favorite shoe or sneaker, and this could be like golf shoe or just maybe like walk around shoe.
I'm a sucker for Jordans.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, if I gotta go out somewhere and maybe look somewhat stylish, I'll throw my J's on.
Nice. Are you rocking? No.
No. I got my
golf shoes.
I got my FootJoys on here.
The FootJoys.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm a FootJoy Titleist guy, and then but if I was rocking a pair of shoes out, it'd be my J's.
Nice. All right. Cool. So when you're meeting up with the golf instructor later, putting the J's on.
No, I'll be going in my business attire.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So next, I just want to get into, because I know you're specialist with PT, but with golf specifically. So I want to get into your backstory a little bit. And I know we kind of touched on it already that you're from North Carolina. But how did you end up transitioning from there to Rhode Island, and also probably somewhat separate, but it'll merge together? How did you get into golf? And then how'd you kind of bring those together?
Yeah, so originally from North Carolina. I practiced in Greenville, North Carolina for about 6.5 years. So it's about, Greenville's an hour east of Raleigh, roughly. And that's where I met my wife, who was there for work. But like there, I've always been an avid golfer myself. And I always wanted to treat basically golfers every single day.
Yeah.
And I wanted that to be my entire caseload. And so it was kind of hard doing that in the in-network model when you had, say, a 6 to 8 week wait list, and you just had to get patients in. And so it was tough. Even though I maybe like 10% of my caseload was golfers consistently. And I took some time, built some solid relationships with players at courses and pros at courses locally there. But I actually got the opportunity to be the physio at it's called the Rex Hospital Open. I think now it's the UNC Health Championship. It's a Korn Ferry Tour event. So the Korn Ferry Tour is the developmental tour for the PGA Tour.
Okay.
So it's like kind of like minor leagues for the majors. And they had an event out there in Raleigh, and I was the physio there. That was in 2019. Again in 2021. 2020, unfortunately, it happened because of COVID.
Yeah.
That was the first event that got canceled from COVID. But just being in that locker room and treating those players, I mean, literally, I took time off. So I was there from Wednesday at 6 a.m. all the way to Sunday at till the last player went off the course. So I was literally, I did it for free.
Wow.
Like, I mean, this is the environment I wanted to be in. But once I was in that locker room and treating those players, and that was really the impetus for, like, dude, I want to treat golfers every single day for the rest of my life. And so, like, that was just being in that environment. I was like, yeah, this is my wheelhouse.
That's really cool.
So yeah, when I moved here, I mean, I always opened my own practice, and my wife, and she's from East Greenwich, Rhode Island here, and I knew when we were moving here, we'd be here for the long haul. And so I was like, hey, it's time to go all in. And here we are.
Sweet. That reminds me of so you going in there working with the players literally for free just because you enjoyed it for passion.
Yeah, took PTO all for it.
Yeah. So in a way, like, you're spending time or money from your work to do it. So
sure.
that I've heard similar stories from talking to people like this like that before, and that just shows, like, it's not like you're just like a casual fan. No, you're extremely passionate about this.
100%.
Like, it's like,
100%.
There's a guy who I interviewed a couple months ago who's weightlifter, jiu-jitsu guy, and he was really trying to go into, like, the coaching role. And what he did was almost similar to you. He would go to these big national meets and volunteer as a plate loader, just so he could, like, listen to, like, what the coaches were saying. So, like, that, what you saying that just reminded me of that. Like, just going there and, like, just immersing yourself in the culture, which is really cool.
Yeah, no, that's I was like a kid at Christmas.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. And then you guys ended up deciding, like, okay, time to go move to East Greenwich.
Yeah. So that's another conversation. Is just the housing market. So they were thankfully we're living with the in-laws. And that it's allowed me to get on my feet and not have a mortgage, which is a blessing. But so her whole family's here, and so when we were moving, it just made sense, and I want her to be happy. And all my family's back in North Carolina, but I see them I see them often. Actually, I see them more. I see them more since being in Rhode Island than I did in North Carolina. It's kind of funny.
That is funny.
Yeah. So yeah, and it's been I've been here. We moved here officially in like first week in June, and then I saw my first client July 1st.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So bring me through, like, I guess your client journey. Like someone comes in. I'm guessing, like, your client is a golfer with, like, potentially having like an injury, or maybe or maybe trying to prevent, like, just to stay healthy, essentially. Yeah.
Pretty proactive. So how somebody gets in front of me, I mean, it's you know the journey somewhat. But yeah, so, like, it all starts with a free 30-minute discovery call is what I call it, and then from there, if I feel like you're a good fit for me, and vice versa, then I do offer, like, you can come in for, like, a free 30-minute discovery visit where you can just further ask questions, and I can take you through, like, a little mini movement assessment, just little stuff, and just to make you feel more comfortable, more at ease, and just know that, hey, I'm gonna be the best person for you, and before we kind of take that next step into a full out evaluation, which is the next step. So you come in, we'll go through an evaluation. My evals all my sessions are 1 hour. Actually, I think I'm gonna transition and have my evaluations be an hour and a half now. And then in the new year, and then from there, we just dive deep in figuring out what are your underlying physical limitations and movement patterns. And what I love about what I do is I can I can take you through my evaluation and movement assessment and not even see you touch a club, and I can 100% tell you exactly how you're going to swing.
That's
right?
incredible.
So it's just fun connecting those dots to why you move and swing the way you do based upon those limitations and movement patterns.
Yeah.
And so I call that the nuts and the bolts session. That's the evaluation. And then we'll do some treatment and some exercise prescription in that session. And then from there, we'll establish a plan of care.
Very cool.
Which is just a package of sessions based upon what we found on the eval.
And obviously this facility is very cool for those who are watching on video. I mean, you have like the turf here, you have the TrackMan pad, which I know is a high end like golf assessment tool.
They're not cheap.
And you have the I'm guessing this is the Golf Pro right next to you.
So Todd Campbell, he's the PGA teaching professional. He's not actually affiliated with Cranston. He actually it's funny how I got here. My wife, before I moved here, her best friend, her mom is a residential realtor in the area. Mm-hmm. And I was like, hey, can you put me in touch with somebody commercially who I can get an idea of when I move here, what's commercial space look like, kind of get an idea of what overhead and just expenses, monthly expenses. And the guy she put me in touch with, he actually used to be in the Rhode Island PGA. I think he was the president for maybe 2 or 3 years. But he was in the golf business for like 10 years. And him and Todd are best friends. And so he put me in touch with Todd. I came here and met him actually while I was still living in North Carolina. My wife and I came here, I think it was Christmas 2020 maybe. And I met him at Starbucks. And I was like, hey man, this is what I want to do. Do you have any ideas of where I can go and just somewhere small where I can start out and just get my feet on the ground? And he put me in touch with Todd. And then I came here, I think it was July 4th weekend, July 2021, and I came here and met him officially. And he had this space. So the space here, it's about 1,000 square feet. Mm-hmm. And he's in one. There's 2 bays. He's in one bay. I'm in this bay, and the space was empty. Actually, I shared the space a little bit with Charlie Blanchard, who's the Bryant University golf coach.
Cool.
And so he's in here about 5 hours a week. But yeah, so just I've been here ever since, and so he's. So I say he's not affiliated with Cranston, even though we're at Cranston. And the advantage to that is that we can serve the public.
Sure.
Right? So like it's as if you're like a private course solely, you're probably going to be tied down to just that membership. So we're open to the public.
Very cool. Yeah. Okay. And I'm sure just that relationship is unbelievable with as far as like you're able to correct like movement, like physical issues, and then they obviously someone like a pro can help game and stuff.
Yeah, his story is pretty cool too. He used to be the pro at Ledgemont, which is I don't know if it's officially Seekonk, but it's but yeah, so he was pro maybe 10, 12 years and then got out of the management side of the business and then kind of went into his own like teaching side. And he started out at Mulligan's, which is in Cranston.
Yes. Yep.
And then he moved here. I think it was fall winter of 2021. But yeah, I mean, we share a lot of mutual clients, and just to be able to, especially to say if they have a session with me and they go immediately next door with him, and just being able to like just go over, hey Todd, they're struggling with left hip internal rotation, and that's why they can't load at impact or post at impact, whatever it may be. Just being able to collaborate and have that dialogue.
That's unreal.
That's my dream, is to have kind of like that all-encompassing atmosphere for the golfer under one roof.
Sure.
And that's definitely a good start of being just me and him together.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So, as far as in New England in general, how's the golf scene like as far as like as this part of the country? I know there's probably like Georgia, Florida are probably huge. Yeah, they go for golf. Like how's the scene here?
Definitely super underrated.
Really?
Yeah. I was surprised. When I told everybody down south where I came from, is like I'm moving up north and I'm going to start a niche practice.
Yeah.
That's for golfers.
They're
like, are you? Well, one, you're crazy because everybody moves south. Well, once I've been here, but it's like, you're coming from North Carolina. What's wrong with you? Everybody moves south. That's one thing. And then like everybody down when I moved, they're like, golf in New England doesn't even sound like they should go together in the same sentence.
Right.
But I will say
that must be like ice hockey in Texas or something like that.
But I mean, there's like actually I've played more golf here than I did in North Carolina. I think one of the reasons is just because I have more ability to prioritize what I want to do and focus on. But and two, in North Carolina, like everything's way more spread out, so it takes more time to get to places, especially to have more access to other courses. Whereas here, everything is so dense, and there's so many good courses in a small amount of like in a small geographical location.
Right.
So you just have access to so much more things.
True.
Whereas where I'm from in like Eastern North Carolina, it's very rural.
You only got a couple courses to choose from.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to drive, so like Greenville was like 100,000 people, which is a pretty big city.
Yeah.
But then the next biggest city is Raleigh, which is like an hour and 15 minutes away, which is not crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, everything in between is just country roads.
Yeah.
Right.
No courses.
Yeah.
Versus like an hour from here to Boston, there's probably, I don't know how many courses you pass.
There's a bunch. But no, very underrated. And then, I mean, people got the golf bug here too, just like everywhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exploded, and especially since COVID, golf's exploded.
Have you played any Top Golf yet?
Not here. I have.
No,
I have. I have not been here yet. I've been to there 3 to 5 times maybe.
Yeah. I just played at that new the new one they opened up. It's fun.
In Cranston, or
yeah. Especially being on that 3rd floor, you just feel like you can hit the ball so much further.
Speaking of funny Instagram accounts, I don't know where I saw this, but like there was a video of a lady. She was in the 2nd or 3rd. I think it was like a two-tier place, and she fell off the top.
No.
She swung, missed the ball, like went through the net, and
through
just
the
like
net?
They had the video that was shooting the whole thing happening was from the bottom level, and they just saw her like fall on the ground.
Oh, was she all right? Who knows?
That's where it ended.
Yeah, okay. No further information.
Then it was watch again.
Yeah. There was when we played. It was my wife's work brought us an event, and somebody similar, no golf experience at all, first time with a club, like swinging at it, misstep. Which I mean, if you're swinging hard, like it's easy to do if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah,
and like almost fell to where where there's the net right there, and everyone's like, oh
that's when the heart
like,
drops.
It looked like the net would have supported her just fine, but like still, who knows, something like that could happen.
I'm not taking my chance on the net.
Ideally, we don't want to test that.
No,
but
definitely not.
I'm glad it's there.
Yeah.
But all right, cool. So let's dive into a little bit about just the difference between kind of like we alluded to earlier with the type of practices that we both kind of share in common, which is the out of network type practice. And I guess how we started the conversation was about insurance. So I guess let's talk about that first. What are some things, because you worked in an insurance-based clinic before, what are some things that you noticed in an insurance-based clinic that were like things that were detriments to patient quality of care or just, I mean, your quality of work with the same thing.
It's like it's burnout for the provider and it's burnout for the patient. But so I will say, I enjoyed where I was at. So in Greenville, North Carolina, I was there for 6.5 years, and I was the lead PT for a sport orthopedic company.
Cool.
And it was what I consider not your typical run of the mill PT clinic. And so I would see anywhere from 12 to 14 to 15 patients a day, which is actually not a lot. It sounds crazy, but it's not a lot from what I know a lot
12
of other
to 15.
People.
Yep.
From what I know, a lot of other PTs will see like in maybe 20 plus.
Yeah.
And so like, I will say from that standpoint, it was a blessing in the sense of even though that was a lot, they had a good culture, and that made a big difference. And it was a holistic place. We had like sports. We had sports performance side. We had massage. We had yoga. So it was a very holistic approach.
Nice.
It was just I got to a point where it's like to be a lead PT and to have like 16 to 18 providers under me, that would include PTs, PTAs, and athletic trainers, and have the expectation to manage those people as well and see a full caseload. Just it's not possible.
Yeah.
Right. And so then I was getting 4.5 years in, and I'm sitting here treating patients, and I'm like I'm burning out. Like I'm having these thoughts of burnout. And I'm 4.5 years in of my profession, and like this can't be normal.
Yeah.
And I can't keep doing this. And so I'm looking for other ways, other options. And it just got to a point where, like, literally, if I have to sit here and think about, I have to sacrifice my own mental and physical health to provide you the quality of care that I want to give you, then I'm going to do that. And what I mean by that is it literally would like be sometimes the decision of, am I going to keep this patient here at this table where I can have my documentation and my computer close to me so I can be efficient with my documentation, or am I going to take this patient back to the sports performance side and I'm going to work them and I'm going to give them what actually I think they need? Well, if I do that, then I'm sacrificing my paperwork and my documentation. So if I do that, and I did do that, I would have like an hour or an hour and a half of documentation to do every single night.
Totally.
Yeah. And so having that mental battle, I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is not the way healthcare should be. And so that was one of the biggest impetuses for like me. Like I can't keep doing this, and I got to find another way.
Yep.
And so it was that, and it was also too just trying to, insurance, they're never going to increase your reimbursement, at least it's for now, right? And so it was always trying to find a way to improve the bottom line, and that goes for not only where I come from. That's every PT practice, and that's a lot of healthcare. Yeah. That's healthcare practices in general.
Sure.
Every year you're trying to find a way to make your business profitable, and it's not so you can be. You can make all the money in the world, because that's not really why I became into this profession, right?
Right.
But it's more of like if you're sitting here trying to figure out, I gotta find a way to cut expenses so we can make ends meet, so we can keep paying our employees, say a 2% or 3% standard raise every year, and insurance reimbursements are not getting any higher. If anything, they're getting lower. Right. That math equation doesn't solve.
No.
Right. Yeah. And so it's like, and it's nothing against these practices. They're just a product of the system.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so it's like, it's not them. It's just, especially if you have people that have been in the system for years and years and years, well, it's kind of hard at that point to transition, even though I think it's doable to do like a hybrid.
Yeah.
But it's just, that's basically the boiling point when I was like, man, I can't keep doing this. I will not have a life. I will sacrifice my mental, physical, and health, and it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So I'll take the uneasiness of taking that leap of faith, and starting going out into the unknown and but practicing the way I want to practice, in exchange for just that
status quo of where it was. Yeah. And I liked how you were saying that. It's like, it's not that the PT big clinic practice owners are like greedy bad people. They're just they have to play by the rules of the game,
right? In
order to keep the lights on, in order to keep everybody paid, and like in order to make the business profitable.
Like, I mean, and kudos to the people that do that, because like they've I mean, right? Because I mean, that's their livelihood,
right?
But it's not even their livelihood. It's like they have the livelihood of 10, 15, 20, 30 other people under them that they're responsible for their livelihood, and their salaries and their paychecks, so they can pay their bills. Like, that's a huge responsibility, and that's something that I will say the people I used to work for, the owners of the clinic, they always instilled that in me. Is like, okay, yes, you're a lead PT, but you got to think about it from also the that side of it too, the owner's perspective, and how that that can be a little burden too.
Totally.
Right? Me as being a solopreneur right now and just a solo provider, it's like I don't have all those responsibilities yet.
Right.
But when I bring those people on, I definitely will take that with it'd be a privilege.
Yeah. I think the company I would say the same thing. The company I used to work for, in network, had great experience. I learned a ton.
Yeah.
I think I did the math when I was there. Like, I saw like 5,000 total different clients from the time I started to the time I ended. So I'm just like, just the amount of knowledge I spent in those times was just like a fire hose of like, because you're surrounded by other PTs, you're getting like good information. It's almost like a fourth or fifth year of like the PT school at that point, because you're getting like good mentorship.
And I would say too, like I wouldn't advise. I mean, I wouldn't advise people necessarily unless you're like, and there's the right mindset, the right person. But I would encourage you to go out and work for somebody for those first 1 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Just give yourself some flexibility, but give that way you can learn the ropes a little bit, because it's not about going out and starting. I mean, yes, you want to go out and practice the way you want to practice, but find the practice that allows you to practice the way you want to practice, right? So start there, but just the mentorship, the clinical skills that you learn on the job, like more so than you do in your rotations, like before you graduate. But like, there's something to be said about going and learning from other people. Totally. And I learned. I mean, my foundation all came from where I came from.
Yeah.
And I'll never regret that. And that basically made me the provider I am.
Totally.
But then you carve your own path.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll still like, I have someone who calls in and is like, hey, like, wants to know more about my practice, but for whatever reason isn't the right fit.
Yep.
And I will refer them to the practice I was at before. I'm like, hey, go see, they're called High Bar now, but go see Performance. Like, here's some PTs I know that I used to work with that are good. Like, check them out. Because I know they do a good job over there.
And it's kind of same. Like we'll come in this area. I wanted to get to know all the local PTs and chiros that I could, but then also it's just to have potential referral sources.
Totally.
Right? And I know like I'm not the right fit for everybody, nor do I want to be the right fit for everybody.
Yeah.
Same to you.
Yeah.
And but like I know our model's not going to serve every single person, but
Exactly.
it's nice to have. I tell people like you better believe if I'm not the right fit for you, you better believe I'm going to help find the right person for you.
Yes.
And so that's where it's nice to have those people.
Yeah, I was talking to I was on another podcast over a year ago now. There's a weightlifting gym in Providence, and I was talking to the owner over there, Dave, and he was very much on a similar like sentiment of like, because Olympic style weightlifting is very specific, very niche. So it's same idea. It's like not for everyone who's into fitness shouldn't just jump to Olympic weightlifting. You know, You're like, hey, everyone's welcome. But they may not be the right fit. And he's very much like, hey, like I want to be a resource for people. Like if you want to come seek us out and have our services and learn, even with just one session, we're here here to help you. And like I like that sentiment.
And the more I've done this, I think, I'm a huge believer in education and awareness, right? No matter what it's regarding, but nothing changes until the person's educated and they're aware. Right? And it's like, and we help that, whether it's like actually treating them as a client, a patient, but also educating them that, hey, you don't have to go through the system of or down the rabbit hole of your PCP and pain meds and prednisone taper and then surgery. Like no, there are other options. Let me help you find those options. Right?
And the amount, and I don't blame people for not knowing that much information about their health insurance or what the health policies are, because they're always changing, and that stuff's so boring.
And even being being in network, we don't know that.
A lot of the stuff is like always changing. So same thing. Like I've talked to people all the time, and they're like, so I'm considered an out of network practice. Your insurance actually may cover it. Like, and so here's the steps you got to do. Call the insurance company, ask them what are my benefits in network, out of network, what are the copays, deductibles. You might find out like from a cost perspective, it totally makes sense to come see me no matter what. Like, so
recently had somebody who their out of network would cover 80% of their session.
It was unreal.
I think they had a $200 out of network deductible, and then they would cover 80%. I was like, dude, take advantage of that.
You get no reason not to.
Right.
And then obviously, I mean, this seems like in Rhode Island, this has been the case for a long time. But again, I don't blame people for not knowing it, just because it's boring information. Is that you don't actually need a referral from a PCP to see a PT. But a lot of people still have no idea, and it's like I get it, because like who goes looking through like the laws and bylaws of like who needs what? But like you can literally go directly to a PT. You don't need to sign off on a doc or anything like that.
And then they say, so I need to go to PCP, right?
Right. Like, no, you don't. You don't have to.
No, you can come see me directly.
Right.
No, it's again, just educating people. It's like, hey, like PCPs, like everybody has their roles and responsibilities in the medical model. PCPs are not trained specifically for musculoskeletal injuries. They're trained to triage that. Right. And so if they recognize something that they say, okay, this is musculoskeletal, well, I'm gonna write you a prescription for PT, see 2 to 3 times a week for 6 weeks. Like I've seen that prescription 1,000 times.
Exactly. I think triage is a great word for that too, because almost like,
but they're doing their job.
Which is what it's a super important job.
But also at the same time, it's like is that the best use of the healthcare dollars?
Sure.
Like, and the best use of the system. It's just a waste of healthcare money, but also time, and potentially you never know. It could be also they get put on. That could start the process of whether it's pain pills or whether it's just like. Prednisone taper, kind of stuff, but like just like mask, symptom mask.
Sure, like, hey, let's just stop what you're doing and here's some pills. Right.
And I'd be curious. Like, I would love to have a conversation like with the PCP too, and get their thoughts on this too, because it's like is that the best use of their time? Would they like to see something else that fits in there?
I think there's a rabbit hole there too.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about it, but I had a friend who he's in Maine now. He's PA, which he was a PCP at a PA PCP. Graduated from Brown and was practicing at a place in Connecticut, and he was telling me a lot about how like the system of how like there's obviously with anything as more research comes out, a lot of the people who are graduating, like the people who have been in the field for a long time, if they're not keeping up with stuff, they're gonna be behind, like way behind sometimes. So he knows that's a big part of it, but another part of it is I think there's issues just like there is with like insurance and PT, the insurance and primary care. Like sometimes it's almost easier for them to just go down that route of like, all right, throw a Band-Aid on and get out of here, like that type of thing. He's like, there's a lot of incentives and stuff that goes on with that. There's definitely a rabbit hole to that too.
Oh yeah, that's a podcast for another day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But so someone coming in to like the PT, let's say they have an injury. Let's say they have a golfing injury and they're trying to decide like, hey, why wouldn't I just go to a typical like in-network PT versus an out-network PT? Like what more am I gonna get out of like an out-of-network or like come to see you essentially?
What I pride myself on is truly educating you and making you aware of why you're in pain. And I have a lot of people that come to me that are not in pain, and I love that too because what I say, I have many, I guess, sayings in my just in life, but if like pain, for example, pain is like the check engine light for your body, like as in your car, right? And so we live in a model or a world where or like every tissue in the body has a pain threshold, and we live in a world where people don't act until they are way above that pain threshold, and then they're in pain, and then they go into the system, the medical system, and then the medical system does a great job of getting their pain levels somewhat closer to I'm okay, or maybe okay, now I'm just below that, I'm no longer in pain, but then it says okay, you're good. And then it takes one little small or subtle movement, and next thing you know, that person is right above that pain threshold again. Now they're living in pain again.
Right.
Well, depending on if you come to me in pain or not, well, there's always something to work on in life, right? That's applies to life, but also for your body. And so if you don't understand, especially for a golfer, the way you move is a byproduct of your underlying physical limitations and movement patterns. And I will constantly say that because it's so true. And that's why I can tell you exactly how you swing based upon just seeing how you move. And so what I love is the aha moments that when I take people through my eval and assessment, and I'm like, look, you're a right-handed golfer. You have no right hip internal rotation. So if you have no right hip internal rotation, well, there's no way. I know subconsciously your body, you're not going to load into your right hip and your backswing. And if you can't load into your right hip and your backswing, it's going to cause these compensations, which then it's going to cause all these other compensations going down to transition to impact.
Right.
Which at that point doesn't really matter because we just got to correct your backswing.
Right.
So it's like having that conversation with a golfer. They don't get that anywhere else, and I know that. Like I'm confident enough now to know that because I've been in the medical system. I've practiced. I've been a provider treating golfers in the in-network world. Well, now I treat 100% golfers. Like every person I treat is golfers. I am in the golf world. I am immersed in the golf world, and so for the golfer, there's nothing like that around here. Like you're starting to see more and more, but like. I'm so passionate. I know the value I can give to people, and I just want them in front of me so I can just at the minimum, just let me take you through an eval, just so you have some direction of where to go.
Sure.
Right. And even though if I know you need to work with me and you don't, that's fine. But at least I know I've done my part to educate you and say, hey, if you have pain, low back pain down the road, it's because you have no right hip internal rotation. Yeah. Whereas like a lot of society, they're just not educated and they don't know the whys. They're just like, okay, I'm in pain, it'll just go away. Or I blew my back out, it'll go back in. Like just like you hear those buzzwords.
And
it's like I want people to understand there's a reason why they're in pain.
Right.
And so like what they'll get when they come to me, hopefully you just heard, just through my passion of describing what you'll get. It's just another one of my sayings is my goal and the reason why I want to start this practice is I want to deliver healthcare in a whole new way, and that's healthcare that does not prioritize the system, but rather prioritizes the patient, the client.
Sure.
And we live in a world that does not do that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's coming from a personal opinion, but also a professional opinion. And I want to be a game changer in that world. And the same to you. And that's why we are doing what we're doing. And I heard somebody say this. I think she's a PT women's health PT out in Seattle, Washington. She said it almost becomes an ethical question to take insurance. Like it almost becomes like if we take somebody's insurance, it's almost like
yeah,
like in a sense, because I just know I can't. It's a volume game, and I can't give the quality of care that I want. So it's like
it's a metric volume game.
Yeah. So where else can people go and get one-on-one care for 1 hour?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. For a PT, they can't.
You can't.
Yeah.
Unless you're you and I.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. It's the only way to do it.
And so it's like, but it's letting people know that they're like, hey, that's what I say. If you can get like your perfect person in front of you, that active athlete, the active adult, and get that golfer in front of me, and just say, hey, like, and take them through our process.
Yeah.
We know the value that we can give to them.
Yeah.
And then once you take them through that, they're not gonna get that anywhere else.
I like the example you gave too about the right hip internal rotation.
Yeah.
That reminds me a lot about. I know we've both heard this because it's big in PT, especially more sports based PT. Is that I3 model?
Yeah.
That's just over and over again. We talk about. It's like but I'll explain it because I don't think I've talked about it on the podcast before. I think I had Raj on recently.
Give me a refresher because when I think about that, I think about Raj.
Yeah. So I think I had Raj on recently, and he's big into it, but I don't think we actually mentioned it. So I got to mention it now. So this is something that Kelly Starrett came up with, who's a PT. Who actually had him on the podcast, which is awesome because he's been a part of the reason I'm doing this in general because he's the CrossFit PT OG, he's been around forever. But he came up with this explanation for why pain happen. And his theory or his whiteboard method is the I3 model. So first one starts with incomplete mechanics. So like you're missing right hip internal rotation, and that leads to like if you think of it as circular, leads to an incident. Tweak it. Hurts for a day, a little more sore than normal after you play, or your back. Let's say like it leads to something else. Something's more sore. You're like, why is my back sore every once in a while golfing? And then enough of those, eventually, like the load tolerance, the load capacity for the tissue is a little more than it can handle, and then all of a sudden you have an injury.
Yeah.
And then that's coming like looping back around. Is if you can picture a circle here on the what would that be? 12, 3, 6, 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Boom,
or sorry,
boom,
it was
boom.
3. And then then you blow, quote unquote, blow your back out, and then you're out of commission for 6 to 8 weeks, whatever.
Yeah.
And then maybe you don't see a PT, you just completely you rest, and then eventually the pain starts to go down, but you haven't really fixed anything, and then you go back to okay, you still have that right hip internal rotation that didn't get fixed, so all of a sudden you start having those incidences again, and then it's a quote unquote vicious cycle, cliche. But that resonated a lot with me in your explanation. I'm like, oh, there it is.
Well, my easiest one to explain to people low back pain.
Yeah,
like low back pain is by far the number one musculoskeletal injury in the world. Right? We know that.
Yeah,
but especially for golfers.
Yep.
So let's say you take the right-handed golfer. Let's go instead of right hip. Let's go left hip. So left hip internal rotation.
Yep.
So you need at impact, you need left hip internal rotation. So that's basically the same thing as saying your pelvis is open, say 30 to 40 degrees at impact. Well, the reason your pelvis is open 30 to 40 degrees at impact is a byproduct of what your left hip is allowing your pelvis to do. So that's actually just your femur is actually going internally in relation to your pelvis.
Right.
And so that's how I describe it when I talk to clients. Well, if you have textbook norm, I think it's 30 degrees of internal rotation. Okay. Yep. Well, for golfers, it's nice to have 40. Like you want 40, 45 is nice. Well, if I have somebody who has 5 degrees of left hip internal rotation, well, I know you're not going to post or load at impact and get to your left side. So that's going to cause you to either slide, hang back. Common ones, we call it early extension. It basically means you just stand up.
Yep. I definitely do that.
Which causes you to then rely more on the hands. And that can start to cause some elbow stuff. And I had somebody here this week actually, classics, low back pain and pain here and pain here. And that's just caused he's flipping the club.
Sure.
He has to rely on the hands because he's not utilizing his lower body.
Otherwise, so what? Like slice it off if he's not flipping the hands like that.
You typically see, we call it two-way miss. Like you'll see like a pull hook.
Okay.
Or you'll see like a block right.
Okay.
But just basically your dispersion's all over the place. There's no control. It's just because you're relying on the hands.
Right.
And
it's not super accurate.
It's not accurate. And so it's just like, but kind of to your point is, well, people have the improper movement mechanics.
Yep.
Right. And then it goes to, okay, they have an incident, so they have low back pain. And then, then it's like, okay, well, they just take a break and like they just let it rest, and then like
don't fix anything.
Yeah, don't fix anything. And then, but that's why like very common that I see the most injuries beginning of golf season, like March, April, because they haven't done anything in the off season. They come right back out and just throw all those reps back on their body, and they haven't prepped their body for the swing. And what frustrates me more and more is to see people, the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing, expecting different results, and and they're not doing anything to change. And so I think it was actually John Licata. I think one of his sayings on his email signature was "Nothing changes if nothing changes."
Yeah,
and that stuck with me ever since I came across him, and that just hits home because it's so true. And I think as I would say, leaders in the proactive healthcare world, like we have to tell people like nothing changes if nothing changes.
Yeah,
like if you truly want to get better and you truly want to understand why you're in pain or why you move the way you do, then go see a medical movement professional.
Yeah.
Or nothing's going to change, especially if you're in pain. Right? Pain's not normal, and it's getting people to understand that they don't have to live a life in pain.
Right. Right.
So it's just that's the education piece.
I love that. Well, actually, we're gonna mic drop with that because I have to get you out of here. I don't want to keep you too much longer. That was a great way to finish. So, questions I want to leave you with are anything coming up that you're excited with, like anything you want to promote, or like Instagram, hashtag or account name and stuff like that.
Yeah. So at Shore Golf Performance is my Instagram, Facebook Shore Golf Performance. I will say sign up for my newsletter. Just go to my website and sign up for my newsletter. I do that every Thursday morning. I send out a newsletter. It kind of gives you an idea of, hopefully you can see my passion through just my conversation today. Just kind of gives you a little insight of my mindset. I love to challenge beliefs and educate at the same time through that. But yeah, just looking forward to kind of New Year goal is to be more active on Instagram. I already am pretty active, but my goal is to just take it to the next level.
Cool.
But yeah, so just check me out at Shore Golf Performance on Instagram, and or you can find me at the Golf Academy with Todd Campbell here at Cranston Country Club. Beautiful.
Last question I'm going to leave you with, which is I stole from Tim Ferriss.
Yeah.
It's the favorite quote question, and you've said a couple of them already, so you can choose one of those if you want to. But
I got one already.
The question is, so the way it's phrased or set up is Route 95 the way I phrase it. There's a big blue bug, and there's a view of the skyline as you're going north. Mm-hmm. Right after the big blue bug is a billboard. Usually it's Rob Levine or a similar lawyer on there.
Heavy hitter.
Yes. And shout out Rob Levine. I mention him every podcast.
Right.
Hopefully I get a sponsorship soon.
There you go.
But you get that billboard for the day. Yep. And you can put whatever you want on it. Maybe something to community,
Great question.
or a favorite quote, whatever you want.
So I got one that's been with me ever since I'd say high school. That's kind of been my motivating quote. Then I'll add on to that. So, go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you've imagined. That's Henry David Thoreau.
Cool.
So that's kind of been my really since my high school days of just getting me through college, grad school. Can always fall back on that quote. But then, as I've become as I've started this practice and trying to educate people on investing in their health and themselves, I always say, do and pursue what you love today, for you are not promised tomorrow.
Nice.
And I think people need to realize that we live in a life that's so busy, and go, that we don't prioritize ourselves. And for me, my goal is to help people be their best selves mentally, physically, spiritually. That's kind of one of my pillars. And because I know that, because I was sacrificing all three of those areas when I was in my previous practice, and I don't like that feeling. And so,
totally.
And so I want other people to be their best selves in all those areas. And so yeah, do and pursue what you love today, because you're not promised tomorrow.
Awesome. We'll wrap it up with that.
Good stuff.
Thank you so much, man.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Roadie Strength, we are signing off.
Peace.
And